All right, welcome back. So, do you need a business license to wholesale real estate? Let's talk about that real quick. I mean, you now know how to start. If you don't know how to start, just watch my previous video on this wholesale real estate. But do you need a business license? Can you really wholesale houses without a real estate license, or is that illegal? The answer might surprise you, but let's get into it. First of all, in the United States, keep in mind we're talking about United States, by the way. Can you do this from outside of the United States? Yes, but without partners, it might be a little bit difficult. But I'm here, and I'm open to partnership. Depends on how you want to come in. We're going to talk about the leverage points that you can come into wholesale real estate in a little bit. But let's focus on this. First of all, it's a state by state by state. Every state, there's about 50 states in the United States. I don't know if there's a 54th state, but it's about 50 states. Every state, they have their own different guidelines around real estate. Real estate is a regulated industry. Okay. So there are things like disclosures, there are things like letting people know upfront what you're up to, but there's also marketing. There's also things around. There's also regulations around marketing. So when you create inbound marketing campaigns, which is finding deals, or outbound marketing campaigns, particularly outbound, when you're cold calling people's houses and phone numbers, basically unsolicited outreach to them, there are guidelines from state to state on how to do that legally. Okay, so it depends on the state. I don't teach outbound. I teach inbound, meaning people reach out to you. Okay, you set up your marketing campaign and people reach out to you. They raise up their hand. They said, I have a house to sell. I would like cash, all cash for my house. And I would like to close as soon as possible. They came to you because they want speed, but they also need to trust you, right? So if they didn't need speed, they will go to a conventional real estate agent, right? And they will list the house on the market, and that person will represent their interest. In this case, you're not representing their interest, you're representing maximizing profit interest. Okay. Maximizing profit not just for you, but for your end buyer investor. Remember, you will be assigning the contract to an end buyer. So your goal is profit numbers. You look at the numbers and you let them know this is what I'm willing to offer. And then they decide, they will exercise their autonomy and decide if they want to sell you the house or not. Meaning they decide they want to sign your contract for a particular price point or not. That's completely on them. All right. So just understand that in terms of that, there's a blurry line between what you're doing as a wholesale real estate because you'll be assigning the contract to somebody else for the most part. There's a blurry line that's been created in the last 20 years between that and actually representing their interest, like as if you were a real estate agent. And a lot of people have been taking advantage in that respect. Or a lot of people have claimed to have been taken advantage of because they might claim that equity were stolen and things like that. Because at the end of the day, when you lock up a contract, hold on one second, guys. And the end of the day, when you lock up that contract is locking up equitable interest. Okay, so equity. Okay, you're looking to buy a piece of property with built-in equity. So there might be people that might claim that you stole their equity, even though they signed the paperwork. So there are guidelines. Okay, it's not, you don't always get accused of doing illegalities because you did illegalities, right? Sometimes it's just a very sensitive industry because it's real estate, there's a lot of money involved. So what you need to do is make sure that you have proper disclosures in place, make sure you're using the right contract. Okay, and when you're, this is where the choice of either you should assign the contract or do a double closing comes in. I personally always prefer double closing because you're buying the house and then you're selling the house. It might be 5 minutes apart, but they are clear two different paperwork. It might cost you two sets of closing costs, but it's worth it because then you avoid the situation where they say you're just getting paid like a realtor. Okay. So you're not just getting paid like a realtor, you are getting paid because you found a good deal, but you want to make sure you're having the right disclosures, the right clauses in the right contract. And if you're interested in the contract that I use, let me know. I'll set it up so you guys can access it. All right. So I prefer double closing. Assigning contract, if you're going to make less than $15,000, assigning contract is okay, but I just generally prefer double closing because I also don't want. I've my first deal was supposed to be $20,000 back in December 2025, and then the seller ended up saying that I was making $20,000, and then he got greedy. So I decided to negotiate. I chose to split my profit with him. So I gave him $10,000, and then I took the rest of the $10,000. And that was my first deal. It was still, and I was 26 years old. That was a lot of money. So I was 26 that year. Yeah, I was 26 years old. I just turned 26 at that time. So contract, a good contract, the right disclosures, and then again, after you close your first deal, make sure you set up your LLC and start using your LLC. Max, after you've closed your first deal, you set up an LLC right away. If you are more than 26 years old now, set up an LLC right now. Should cost you maybe $100 or so. Okay, with your state. Okay. So in terms of business license, now I'll tell you like this: as you go through the business, it might be necessary if you know you're doing volume and you're doing well. It's not going to hurt to get licensed as an agent in your local state. That also exposes you to additional sources of income. You're able to represent yourself, you're able to represent other people, you're able to collect referral fees, and then you can now operate as a professional real estate person in any state in the United States, most likely with a referral if you're crossing state lines, but it just makes things a lot more easier. But don't overthink it. You're buying wholesale and you're selling wholesale to investors that actually want to put houses back in the market. You're creating market and you're helping the person that can't afford the property get rid of the property. So this is completely a ethical type of business. All right. So now that you know that the business is legal and compliance is at your reach anytime, let's talk about getting deals. Okay, which starts by getting leads. Leads, deal, you get it? Yeah, exactly. The fastest way to go broke is to forget about marketing. I hope that makes sense. Hey, Raymond, good to see you, Raymond. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on. Let's get on to how to find deals. I will be right back.
This is Ola at My Empire Pro, your favorite real estate coach. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your empire starts today. I've written 3 game-changing books. Download them free at myempirepro.com/books. I'm also looking for partners, money, time, or anywhere in between. If that's you, visit myempirepro.com/partners. And if you want to try the all-in-one PropStream software for free, go to myempirepro.com/PropStream. Stay tuned. Let's build your $10,000 per month real estate empire.